So I'm going to go ahead and start the recording.
Okay.
And I don't even think I gave a teaser to what I was going to present tonight.
Oh, really? Okay.
I don't think I even gave a teaser. I should have sent out an email blast or something, but that's all right. That's why we record it. So let me get my little PowerPoint slideshow going here. And then I will share my screen. Gotta make sure I share the proper screen. Let me share my screen and then present because it's covering up the meeting. All right. You should see like a PowerPoint presentation says WRMI, largest shortwave station in the Americas.
Mm-hmm.
Are we seeing that, Bill and Justin?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, good deal. All right, welcome to the February 7th, 2023 Jacksonville Range meeting. So I had the opportunity, I was down visiting my dad in Okeechobee, Florida. And I remember growing up and being young and flying over the area. My dad flew for the state and flew out of Okeechobee sometimes. We'd always fly over this place that had lots of wires and cables and stuff up in the air. And he explained to me, yeah, that's a shortwave radio station. But him and some of the other local people in Okeechobee always made the comment that they thought it was some kind of a big government monitoring facility, that they were listening to all the radio waves in the world with that, and that it was just some big monitoring facility, and other rumors and stories and stuff I've heard. So I was like, well, you know what? It'd be really cool to see the biggest shortwave radio station in the Americas, and on top of that, maybe I can help dispel any rumors or myths. I'll go up there and check it out, and if I don't come back, you'll know what happened. So I called up, just randomly called up the station as a guy. Didn't have a whole lot of high hopes. Or actually, I'm sorry, I emailed their link and I said, hey, I'm a ham radio operator. I think it'd be really cool to come and see your station. I'm in town for these days, and do you think I could come by? Do you guys do tours or anything? So that was late at night. The next day I get up, I don't hear anything for a little while, then I check my email. Hey Ben, yeah, we'd love to give you a tour. Our associate engineer so and so is going to be in at 4 or 5 o'clock or whatever, and can give you a tour of the station. Okay, reply back, I'll be there. So I headed up to I was in Okeechobee City. They say they're in Okeechobee, but they're actually out of the city. They're in Okeechobee County,
Okay.
quite a ways north of town. And so if we look at the station information here, so they're located in Okeechobee, Florida. They have 68 towers and 23 antennas and 14 transmitters, most of which do 100 kilowatts.
Okay.
This is where they get largest shortwave station. They have 14 transmitters. So I don't know if they're largest by property or total power output, but I know they're largest by amount of transmitters in one facility. So give you an idea where they are actually located. This is Okeechobee, the city proper down here, and then they are a few miles to the north. So you go out here north of 441, and they're appropriately out in the middle of nowhere. So went out there, set my GPS, was a little worried I'd missed a turn or something and the GPS was leading me astray, but then I gained confidence when I saw this. This is my mobile. It was at 60 right before I took the picture. It blipped down to 50 dB over S9. Now this is 50 dB over S9. I'm running my attenuator on the ICOM. I think that's 10 or 15 dB of attenuation. Plus, I had my antenna detuned. I did not have my antenna tuned. My screwdriver antenna was not tuned for this frequency. It was tuned for 10 meters at the time. So just consider how much gain that is. 50 dB over S9 with an attenuator running and with the antenna out of tune. So I could only imagine I would have probably damaged my radio had my antenna been properly tuned and had I not been running the attenuator. So anyway, you pull up to the entrance. It's a beautiful evening, nice and cool December evening. This was a couple days after Christmas. And you start looking at some of these towers that they have and
there we go.
Oh, you okay, Justin?
I just had a
All right, I just muted you for a second. So these are the transmission lines down here. These are the towers, and I don't think I have a picture of it, and it's off here to the right. You can't see it real great in the picture, but they actually have sometimes wires strung between two towers with insulators at an angle. So essentially, what they have is a log periodic antenna that is angled up, that's up tilted to the horizon in a way, and I'm sure they've done calculations, people a lot smarter than I am, so that they can cover, Africa, for example, northern Africa. They have a transmitter and antenna set up just for that. And they know based on the takeoff angle and where the antenna's pointed that they'll get coverage in that direction. So as you come in, this here's a video. I don't think you're gonna hear. I don't know if you're hearing any of the audio or not. So, in case you're not hearing any of the cards, this is the station manager's wife explaining that these are the old QSL cards from back when they were in Miami. So this station originally was in Miami, and I think they had a single 50 watt, 50 megawatt transmitter. I'm getting my kilos and megas and watts. They had a 50 kilowatt transmitter, not megawatt. That would be ridiculous. But these are very old envelopes and QSL cards from all over the world. And when they left Miami, the station in Miami, they were just going to tear these down, and they were literally walking them out to the dumpster when the station manager's wife was like, "No, no, no, that's history. That's history. Don't throw those away." So this is kind of how their entrance is set up right now. It's not a very glamorous building. If you go to the building, it looks like a big warehouse, and it's not super organized or clean or anything, but it's functional, and I guess that's what they're going for. So I get into the building, kind of meet the manager real briefly, and then he hands me over to the engineer, and we just start going through some things. This is how they do all the transmitter audio sources. And one thing that you'll see over and over is this is all some pretty old equipment. And they, every time they've tried to modernize something or upgrade it, it has had a high failure rate compared to the older equipment. So the older equipment is repairable. They can still get parts for it. So for now, they're just kind of leaving it that way because all the new stuff has just failed. And they think it's because of just it can't handle the RF exposure that some of the older stuff can. So this is how they route all their audio. So there's transmitters here and then computers here, and each computer has a letter, and then you dial the letter for the transmitter, and that's the audio routing, all manually, thumb wheels and things like that. So This is the main audio room here. So this is where all the audio processing is done for the 14 transmitters. I did not pay a lot of attention, but this is all audio processing equipment. So there's like an equalizer down here. I think these are called opti modulators. Again, this is another piece of equipment that they tried to replace with something like all digital and modern, and it died in like a couple of weeks just from the RF. If you look at this room, you look back on these windows look like they're dirty and they need to be cleaned real bad. This is all copper. This is all copper screening. This entire room is screened in copper. The seals of these doors are metal. The seals of the door are copper lined and everything. So it's one big Faraday cage, but it still gets RF into it. They actually, one of the way they monitor their transmitters, they just take this old Radio Shack scanner that you see sitting up here, and they just tune it to whatever frequency and listen to it, and um, enough RF gets in, even though it's kind of a Faraday cage RF, still plenty of it gets in to listen to the transmitters and monitor them. So just audio processing equipment. Here's another kind of view of the room and the OptiMods. This one's a little more modern. You can see it has LED readouts for the equalizer, whereas these, and I don't know if I have a video of this or not, but these were very interesting. It's actually just needles that bounce up and down based on the EQ readout versus a digital display. But anyway, this is where they control the levels and the modulation and things like that for each transmitter. Now, all of the actual audio comes from computers, and it's all files that are, like MP3 files that are just scheduled to play at certain times. They do have the capability to do some live broadcast over the internet by taking it in over the internet, and then the computers are automated to receive that link and broadcast whatever audio is being sent over at that time. And then they also have some satellite equipment as well, so you could do like a satellite uplink to them if you're willing to rent satellite time. This is just a wider shot here. You can see, I thought it was interesting. A lot of these security cameras are getting RF on them, like that one there. You can't see it all. This one here is all distorted. He says they go around every year and they replace about 4, 5, 6 cameras. The cameras are in steel housing. They have filters on it. So despite the being a Faraday cage, they still have to put ferrite on everything. You'll notice every monitor cable, everything has a ferrite bead on it. The end of this mouse, the other end of this wired mouse is wrapped around like a toroid because the mouse was just not responding and jumping all over the screen. The guy brings the laptop in to the room. He has to wrap his power supply for the laptop if he wants to plug it in and charge it. Otherwise, RF gets onto the laptop and messes it up. Here's some of the computers up here in the background that run the program. They're just old HP machines, but really you're just scheduling stuff and processing audio. You don't need a supercomputer to do that. This is also some of the audio processing. So this is, I think, being used as a backup to this right here to punch down some of the audio and schedule some of the items. So this is where they can remote into these computers and control all that. And I think this is a video. This is the Optima. I just thought this was so cool that I'd never seen like an EQ readout based on an analog needle. So, and I don't know if you guys can hear the audio from the video or not, but the tech is explaining to me that this company, oh, I scrolled the mouse. So the tech is explaining to me that this company right here, Optimod, actually sent out a loaner of they had a unit down and they were sending it in for repair, and they sent out a loaner, and the loaner was a more modern, fully electronic one, digital controlled and all that. and that's another item that had died just in a little bit. I said, hey, your loaner died, and they said, well, we'll send you out another one. He goes, no, we're done with these. And they had another one of these in the back. They had another, more analog backup unit, and they just racked it and put it in. So they definitely are fans of the old school equipment. So this right here, in amateur radio, we use coax. They use waveguides. This is the waveguide for the transmitter, that big pipe right there. And I know there's not really anything to scale, but I'm going to say that's probably a 8 to 10 inch piece of copper pipe right there. And then I'm going to pause this. If you look up in the corner right here, that box that looks like the size of probably like a single mattress, that is their Ballon. So whereas we use Ballons that are, might be the size of our hand, that's the Ballon for their antenna system right there. So that waveguide goes in, the Ballon does the matching, and then it goes out on the ladder line that they use. So it's just crazy. So this was interesting. They use this for some type of lightning or protection. I was, I guess, so infatuated with a lot of this stuff that I wasn't paying attention to the technical details as much as I wish I had. But this goes in, and apparently, if this arcs, it will shut off. It will throw a bar to disconnect something, the line. But this is actually how it works. If there's an arc right there, it will sense that and trigger. So I thought it was an old spark gap transmitter at one point. I was like, wow, y'all really are old school. And that's just some more of the grounding there. They're using coax cable. This is similar to in size to like an LMR 600. And this is all just being done to ground and keep RF off of things they don't want RF on. So it was a nice tour of the facility. They walked me through, showed me the different transmitters. One thing about the transmitters that's interesting is they are all capable of 100 kilowatts, and they're running, I think, almost all of them down to 25 kilowatts, and that's basically due to electrical cost. They said if we were to run all of our transmitters at 100 kilowatts at their current schedule, keeping in mind they turn some when they know when the conditions are going to be good for Africa. So when they're good, it's transmitting. When they're not, they turn the transmitter off. So not all 14 of their transmitters are on 24/7, 365. There's actually a schedule online, and I'll show you a link later if you are interested in monitoring them. They have a particular frequency 4.980, which comes in real good in the Americas. Currently, it's like 30 dB over S9 on my station here at the house, and they play some really cool kind of oldies music and have some international news and stuff like that. It's a really cool station to listen to. Definitely compared to some of the more what I consider boring radio shortwave radio stations. But they said that if they were to run them all at 100 kilowatts at their current schedule, their electric bill was going to be something like $130,000 a month or something ridiculous like that. So they, that's their biggest operating cost is electricity, as you can imagine. So this is up at the station just outside. You can see again all their feed lines, their towers. These are some of the satellites that they can bring in the shows on live. Just another shot here. You can see some of the cables through the ground. And I think this is coax. So they do use coax for some items, but just look at all these poles for the feed line runs and all these towers that they have to maintain, and imagine what happens to them when a hurricane comes through and things like that, how much repairs and stuff they have to do. So leaving the station, just a beautiful sunset, more towers in the background. Just another shot leaving, little panoramic shot. Just a beautiful open land, open area, kind of swampy. So I'm assuming that that helps with, you know, having a nice ground and everything, that it's just kind of low and swampy land. But you can just see the towers go on and on. I mean, just massive amounts of radio towers. All right. So if you want more information about them, you can go to WRMI.net. These are some of the QSL cards that they put out. This is, I'll read from the back of the actual cards here. So starting from the top left, this is an aerial view of the 16,000 square foot transmitter building housing 14 transmitters broadcasting to the world. So that's on the back of that card. We go to the top right one. It just says aerial view of WRMI transmitter site. So that's kind of the wide angle view there. And you can see the ponds here and stuff. So it is kind of a low, swampy area. And then the bottom left is the overseas highway that connects the Florida Keys to the mainland state. And it's over 100 miles long. And then they have a gator on the property. So if you're thinking about trespassing and getting RF burned didn't concern you, this hungry gator might concern you. So they say that that's their mascot. So anyway, I hope everybody enjoyed it. And again, more information on WRMI.net. And if you are in the Okeechobee, Florida area, they apparently are open to giving tours. All right, Justin, I'll hand it off to you. I don't know if you want to cover any business or if that was the meeting. And keep in mind, I think I put you on mute earlier, so you may have to unmute.
Right. I talked with the under old business. I talked with the general contractor, and they're almost completely done with the Danes Point Bridge. They're still behind schedule, but they're going to be installing either a very large transformer on the bridge, but that transformer has not been delivered yet, and they're waiting for that delivery sometime in between now and the end of March. So we still have the opportunity to coordinate with them, but I haven't spoken yet to confirm a date with them. And in the meantime, I'm told that NOFARS has a new president in John Reynolds, and he's also the president of the special or the leader of the special projects committee. And there is talk about them installing a 220 repeater on the bridge also. I haven't been able to confirm that with him or to find out any more details about the about that project. They're also working with the USS Orleck, O-R-L-E-C-K, Orleck Maritime Museum. And they've even connected or are connecting with the family of a ham who wants to donate all of his vintage, I guess is the correct word, equipment that can be used. And the idea that with this project that the forest is working on is to establish a working um, station with period correct or as close to that as possible equipment on the USS Orlex so that it can become either part of demonstrations associated with the eventual tours that they're going to offer, and it also may be utilized for activations or nets or field days or any of those possibilities. But I haven't had a chance to talk with John directly about it, nor do I know when they're actually going to start. I know the Orlec is supposed to be moving to its new location, so they may be still in the planning phase of it, waiting for the ship to be delivered to its final location, so that they can um, begin the work of installing the equipment and activating that station. And I'm imagining it's going to have a unique call sign, but I don't know yet.
I wasn't aware that it was going to move again.
Well, right now it's sitting in front of the hotel, and they want it out of the way.
Oh, okay.
It's been sitting there for too long. The museum committee was promised that the new location would be available, and the pier area, along with any piling supports and um, um, landline connections, is not yet ready. So in the meantime, the hotel that it's sitting in front of is pressing to get it moved. And of course, the museum, the Maritime Museum folks are very interested in it moving to the new location once it's ready. So there's going to be, I'm sure, more news to follow on that once they get the site prep done and the ship can be moved. And so that'd be cool to have a working radio in the Maritime Museum. I don't know of the maritime museums that I've only available in the U.S. I've only visited in Charleston to the Patriots Point Park and the USS Yorktown. And although they have a radio room as a display, I don't know that it's actually functional. So the only radios that I know that they have are just family talk radios for communicating throughout the ship via handhelds. So this may be unique in the fact that it would have a working licensed station able to be activated or operated from the ship itself.
Yeah, I think that's a great initiative. There is a ships on the air group as well
Right,
that I'm sure
right.
they've already contacted for support.
They've already. You brought up a very good point. They've already as part of the project have began plans to use that as a ships on the air site. And it's not just that's not just limited to museum locations. The ships on the air can be utilized from any maritime vessel anywhere in the world. So if they're
Okay. I'll
part
have
of
to
that
get my
network, then they
canoe
can.
and my handheld.
they can actually connect to, if it's a ship at sea, they can connect to other ships and also to any mainland operators anywhere in the world, and all be able to participate in the ships over the air and any special events or scheduled events of nation or worldwide events that are part of that. So it'll be almost as much fun as trying to chase down a satellite. We can chase down a ship at sea in underway and connect with the personnel on the ship as part of the ships over the air program. It'll be that'll as a city that has such a large naval history and connection with the various bases, that will certainly be a new experience for us, and a great way to celebrate our heritage as a naval seaport. We are still looking for officers. I have so we'll continue to do that until we're able to fill all of the positions. In the meantime, Ben will be the trustee and treasurer, and we'll transition the accounts over to both Ben and myself as a signer, as in accordance to the bylaws. And when we can fill out the rest of the board members, then we'll have a complete roster of officers. I need to schedule a board meeting sometime in the next month, so that we can further discuss that and our plans as we move forward as a group. New business, as a recent event, they had the Donna marathon to promote breast cancer awareness down at Jacksonville Beach, Atlantic and Neptune beaches on Sunday. And Donnie Strathman was our contact for that. And Jack Driscoll, KB4B, and myself worked to adjoining checkpoints along the route in the Neptune Beach area, and they had thousands of runners passing by, and some of them ran the half marathon, and then others ran the full marathon, which involved making 2 circuits, or 2 times through the actual course. The race started at just after 7, and we were released. Jack and I were released somewhere, I think it was just around 12, because we were at the 8 mile, or no, I'm sorry. I think we were at the 16 mile mark. So because they we were more than halfway through the actual course. So as the runners passed through for that finished under the half mile, and the marathon, the full marathon runners passed us by, then we were able to secure our location and leave sometime, I think it was around 1, and head home. It's really foggy, nice and cool. The runners were really enjoying it, the cooler weather. And they posted some pretty fast times, and the results are both online at the News4Jax and in the newspaper. So that's just one way that we can participate as hams in the local community, is to help provide communications live real-time course communications about the runners, the leaders, the progress of the race itself, and we were ready to provide any emergency communications or aid to anyone through that was participating in the course. But there was a large number of neighbors and onlookers that were excited and loud and cheering on the runners, and it was a cool event. I haven't done it in the last several years, but I decided to reconnect with that as just a local way of staying connected with the community and helping out. That's all I have for that section.
Well, that's great, Justin. Thanks for, representing the group and going out there. And
Yeah.
just curious, what kind of communication was used? Were you simplexed or repeater, VHF, UHF?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that. They reactivated Scott Frudenthal's old 146.390 repeater to
Oh, it's great to
use
hear.
as the event repeater, because the beaches repeater has been experiencing some glitches and they have not solved them all. So they decided just to set that repeater up, the 390 repeater up in full duplex, so that they could establish communications throughout the course. But I think that Jack and I may have been the only ham operators from the Jacksonville area that participated. The rest were volunteers that from the beaches.
I did hear a ham on First Coast DMR this morning talking about how he was there volunteering as well, and it wasn't you or Jack.
I
so
think
there were a
the
couple
two groups.
others.
You're right. I think the two groups were the First Coast DMR and the beaches area amateur radio groups, but we were the only two from Jacksonville, from range especially, or
Great.
from NOFARs that participated.
Oh, that's great. Or the other side of the ditch, as they call it.
Right. Yeah. But the runners had a great time, and the crowds were cheering, and there's a lot of positive energy going on, and although it lasted 5.5 hours, I was still glad that I went. The only thing they need to do next time is to possibly offer some rolling relief operators to anyone that has to leave, that had to leave their station temporarily.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But we went there and we got the T-shirt. That was it. Winter Field Day. Ben, you were at Winter Field Day. I was. We both visited there. They had half a dozen operators there set up. People came and went as their schedule allowed. They set up on, I believe it was only on Saturday, only from 2 until 6, or just about dark. Because when I left, it was dark, and the other stations were beginning to secure. I think that was the scheduled hours of the event, and anyone that wanted to hang around afterward and make contacts could certainly do that as an individual. But they had Ben, you were there trying to with Paul, trying to connect to some satellites that were in low orbit passing by. Were you able to connect with any of them?
Yeah, so Paul was able to make a contact through the space station repeater, the repeater
Wow.
on the International Space Station. So that was pretty cool. And then after that, the next good satellite pass was more him trying to help me with my antenna radio setup. There's um, a couple of things I need to do to kind of improve my setup. Not necessarily the antenna, but the radio itself. So he was just kind of helping me troubleshoot some things and walk through some things there. And so it was really appreciate his elmering on that subject, because
Right.
I have this satellite antenna and the radio and everything programmed, and for um, a half a year on and off trying, my daughter will use the spot the station app and let me know when there's going to be a good pass of the International Space Station. We normally try to do it at night, so that way we can actually visually see the space station as well, so we know we're keeping the antenna on track.
Oh, cool.
And then she gets excited about seeing the visual passes, which is neat. And then I get excited about at least the potential of being able to connect through the repeater and um,
Okay.
basically talk talk on a repeater that has an altitude of a few thousand feet, or how many ever, or a few thousand miles, I guess is what it is.
Right. Right. Did anyone besides me see the launch last night?
I did not.
Doggone it. It was just about 8:30. They launched a communications satellite rocket from Canaveral, and it stayed visible for over 3 minutes in the from the southeast to the eastern sky.
Yeah, that's cool. We've seen some
Falcon
we've seen
Falcon
some good
rocket.
ones
Yeah.
lately. Yeah, the last Falcon Heavy one was really good timing, because the sun was kind of behind us and it was kind of lighting up the rocket and the plumes and all that, and it really just with the naked eye stood out
This one
quite
did too.
visually.
It really lit up. You could see the vapor trail, and for quite a long time, for a good solid minute before the boosters separated. And then they once they separated, the boosters separated, then they got into near space orbit, or were approaching near space orbit. Then the first stage separated. They were showing, my wife and I were watching the in-flight video um, from the from NASA, um, but you couldn't see the first stage separate from the second stage. They were too far down range by that time. Still, we're close enough. We can at the right time of day with the right conditions, which were last night, you can get a really good view of the launch. We didn't have the same visibility for the Artemis launch,
Yep.
which was supposed to be even more dramatic. But Rajesh had actual video of the two boosters coming back to and landing, vertically landing at the recovery site. I guess the next big event coming up is the they call it the free flea in the spring.
Well, we got the Orlando Hamcation. That's the next really
I'm
big one.
sorry, Hamcation is coming up this weekend. If I'm right.
Is it this weekend or the weekend after next? I'm trying to remember if it's. I thought it was always the weekend after Valentine's Day.
I'd
I'm
have to look. I
googling.
think
It's this
I thought it
weekend.
was you can look it up faster than I can.
It's this
Okay.
I thought it
weekend.
was the second
Thanks, Bill.
weekend.
Yep, it's this weekend. Good deal. Yeah,
The
I'm
second
skipping it
full
this year because
weekend
I'm
of
going
the
to
break.
Dayton. So that was
You're going to
kind of
Dayton. Yeah.
going
When
to
is that
Dayton.
again?
That is in May. Nothing like planning ahead, but I already have my hotel and my airplane and all that, so I'm going.
I think Jim Keeley had been to Dayton last year. I don't know when he's planning to return. I talked to him about a week ago now, and he's back in Jacksonville and was not planning any cross country trips for the near future.
Well, good deal. Hopefully he can help us out and
Oh
take
yeah, he
on
wants
maybe a
to
board
participate.
position.
Sure, yeah.
That would be great.
As his schedule or time, health or whatever allow. It's after 8, and I think it's probably time we can go ahead and close the meeting.
All right, I'll go ahead and stop the recording.
Thank you, Bill.